Make it, make it, make it.
I gotta make it.
Fast, 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 fast. But I can't break it, or it won't last, so fake it. Go touch some grass and then make it. This is what my mind sounds like most of the time. Living in survival mode isn't just something that some of us experience. It has become a lifestyle for most of us in a culture that normalizes dysfunction and dysregulation. But how did we get here? Why is this so normalized? And how, please tell me if you know, do we start to crawl our way out of this immense hole of late-stage capitalism, burnout, toxic coping patterns in a culture that constantly pushes us to betray ourselves and our humanity? This is learning to function in a dysfunctional society. Let's start with chapter 1 of this toxic culture book. If not toxic, why toxic shaped? I recently started taking a class focused on social justice and human rights. Within the class, we were assigned a reading called The Myth of Normal by 𝐿𝑜𝓋𝑒. I hope I'm saying that right. The literal second that I started reading it, my eyes got wide. It was like the pages were saying everything that I've been thinking for years. Why are we living like this? This toxicity has deep roots. I believe it began when humans separated from nature and sought to dominate it, replacing harmony with control. And of course, industrialization accelerated this shift. Machines, factories, and urbanization pulled us further from natural rhythms, community, and the cycles of our bodies. Capitalism reinforced the idea that our worth depends on what we produce, turning everything, our time, attention, and even love, into a transactional affair. And as we know, patriarchy, racism, and colonialism have shaped societies for generations, and in doing so have deeply impacted our nervous systems, teaching us to suppress feelings, compete instead of connect. We see a lot of that one. Survive rather than truly live. As 𝐿𝑜𝓋𝑒 says, much of what passes for normal in our society is neither healthy or natural, and that to meet modern society's criteria for normality is to conform to requirements that are profoundly abnormal in regard to our nature-given needs. Those features of daily life that appear to us now as normal are in fact the ones crying out the loudest for our scrutiny. Much of what we've normalized is actually not healthy or natural. And that leads me to acknowledgement. I believe that acknowledging this harmful history and its effects on people throughout time and into the very present day is essential. Acknowledging exactly how people are affected, no matter how much the society tries to romanticize a lot of the toxic coping mechanisms. And in this looking inward, we must not blame ourselves or shame ourselves, but fully acknowledge the systems that we were born into and how it has been affecting us, likely before we even got to the planet, via our mothers and grandmothers and even our fathers and grandfathers' generational life choices. We must ask ourselves honestly and with compassion, why do we make the choices we do? What patterns have we inherited? Once we see them clearly, how will we respond to these patterns? As 𝐿𝑜𝓋𝑒 puts it, we are steeped in the normalized myth that we are, each of us, mere individuals striving to attain private goals. The more we define ourselves that way, the more estranged we become from vital aspects of who we are and what we need to be healthy. Healing begins when we stop blaming ourselves for burnout and illness and start seeing them as direct effects of trying to survive a system built on the denial or complete absence of recognizing our full humanity. Once we acknowledge that something is hurting us, we have a choice. We can either keep explaining it away, saying, that's just life. That's just the way the world works. Or we can finally admit that the world we were handed, that we have been taught to accept, is actually not healthy. If we admit that what we are experiencing is not normal, and we also have to face how much pain we've been carrying because of it. We have to face how much we have adapted, numbed ourselves, overworked ourselves, and betrayed ourselves just to survive. You're not crazy, and you're not alone. This world is fragmented, and they want it to be that way. A fragmented world is much easier to control. If we're exhausted, disconnected, trying to earn our place in the world, then we're less likely to question the systems that made us this way in the first place. And sometimes survival mode becomes so familiar that we mistake it for our personality. We call ourselves perfectionists, workaholics, the strong friend, independent. Underneath those labels, there is a nervous system that has never truly felt safe. As 𝐿𝑜𝓋𝑒 writes, the essence of trauma is disconnection from ourselves. And honestly, what is modern culture built on, if not disconnection? We are taught to disconnect from our bodies when they need rest. We are taught to disconnect from our emotions when they are inconvenient. We are taught to differentiate ourselves from nature and thus from community, from grief, and from joy. We live in a culture that romanticizes self-destruction while calling it freedom. Burnout is called ambition. Emotional unavailability is called independence. Overworking equates to success. Staying in harmful relationships and betraying your own self equates to loyalty. If we are constantly coping, constantly proving that we can tolerate more pain and more stress, then we never have to ask ourselves the deeper questions. Why are we being taught that suffering is normal in the first place? It is systemic. Late-stage capitalism is not a sudden development. It is the accumulation of centuries of systems, colonial extraction, wage labor, slavery, racial hierarchies, and exploitation. These systems have over time taught us to dominate instead of nurture, and to see some people as more valuable than others, and that suffering is simply the price we pay to survive. And holding other people accountable to that suffering is part of the system as well. A system built on the dehumanization of some people will eventually harm everyone in it, even those who think that they are benefiting from it. We may not all experience that harm in the same way, but none of us are untouched by a culture that teaches us to disconnect from our human nature. When these patterns repeat for generations, they begin to feel normal. One might even start to call them tradition. Familiar does not equate to being safe, and surviving is not the same as living. There's nothing wrong with us for struggling in a world that has asked us to disconnect from who we truly are. Healing cannot begin until we learn to stop denying what is hurting us. These harmful systems invent ways to entrap our minds and bodies to service its goals: financial gain, extracting our labor, our time, our energy, and forcing assimilation and compliance. But how can we creatively free ourselves? I think that it cannot be done without being open, collaborative, really fight to find and keep safe spaces even when times are feeling sort of bleak. Overall, denial and glorification of trauma cannot be a part of the solution. Pushback will arise from those maintaining the status quo. So, awareness is key, both of how we participate in our own suffering and how we may harm others when we ignore these forms of injustice. It's okay to be human again. These systems thrive off of our dissociation. Refusing that is a revolutionary act. Denying the possibility of other realities just because the current one that we're looking at is all that we've known is what limits us. Slowing down, resting, and choosing yourself are not meant to be surface level fixes. They aren't always accessible to everyone in the same way. And because of this video is not about judgment. It is about possibility.
You have this amazing place, this spaceship. You guys are talking to us because we're in a spaceship really far from Earth, but you're on a spaceship called Earth that was created to give us a place to live in the universe, in the cosmos. I think maybe the distance we are from you makes you think what we're doing is special, but we're the same distance from you, and I'm trying to tell you, just trust me, you are special. in all of this emptiness, this is a whole bunch of nothing, this thing we call the universe. You have this oasis, this beautiful place that we get to exist together. This is an opportunity for us to remember where we are, who we are, and that we are the same thing and that we got to get through this together.